Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, it is Brian Kaz here. I'm also joined by my friend and business partner, Sean Casey. We have another WebFire marketing call for you here, and on this one, it's a pretty fun one. We occasionally do ones like this where basically we ask you to send in, your markets or your businesses and stuff, and the call will basically be about what we would do if we were in your shoes, or what we would do if we had your business. Now, a lot of you sent in like a lot of different businesses and stuff, so what I tried to do, a lot of them had a lot of stuff that was similar. Like a lot of you had like an affiliate offer. Some of you had like a local business or a service of some kind and stuff like that. So I have a handful of you unique ones here, and then a handful of ones are kind of basically grouped together. So there's probably like, gosh, we probably had probably like a dozen that had like an affiliate offer of some kind that was similar. So rather than do like a bunch of different ones, I kind of combined it into one because the advice is pretty much the same in that case. So we couldn't get to everyone, but we got to at least a lot of them. And if by chance we don't get to one that's related to yours that you sent in, again, just feel free to basically post it up on the Facebook group page or to write us in, and we'll be happy to send you some advice on that. So without further ado, we can get this show on the road, and this is all about what we would do if we had your business. So once again, this is another one of the WebFire webinars here. Make sure that you're signed up for the future calls, and to also basically check out the past calls inside of WebFire, because we quite often get guys saying, hey, can you do a call on this or a call on that? And it's something that we've basically done like 2 or 3 times already. So make sure that you watch the past calls. Just because they're in the past does not mean that they're outdated by any means. We've even had some that will write in basically asking if we could do a call that's like identical to the call that was done only like a week or 2 ago. So again, make sure to look at the past trainings there. And now if you're here or registered for this series, you'll get a reminder basically prior to each of the future calls so you don't forget. But if you can't make one, no worries, because we'll have the recordings up in the members area within a day or so of any of the calls, and it will be under the training tab on the left side navigation bar. So you basically click on the training, and then you click on the Wednesday calls, because the WebFire trainings usually are almost always on a Wednesday, and you'll see the most recent ones at the top right there. There's also a search bar where you can search through and basically do kind of like any kind of keyword search that you want and find all sorts of related past trainings that we have there. So these calls are typically focused more on marketing and basically techniques with WebFire tools instead of how to use X tool, as we already have walkthroughs and stuff in the members area in each of the tools. So if you're basically hearing like, hey, I don't know how to use this tool or that tool, or it's better to watch the walkthrough on the page that has the tool, because that's what it's basically meant for. So this is for marketing advice and stuff like that. But having said that, if you get lost or stuck or anything, by any means, just feel free to write our support. They'd be happy to assist you. There is a support desk under the support link inside the members area, and you can also write support@webfire.com as well. But the support link is probably best just in case you ever have like an email issue or anything like that. You can always see the reply there. And if you want a chance to win $100 today, make sure to join our free Facebook group at getwebfire.com/FB group. Towards the end of this call right here, we'll actually give you a chance to win $100. That will actually do a live drawing at the end of this call that you'll see live, but you have to be a member of the group that you see right there. So make sure that you join that right now. It is completely free. Just takes like maybe like a minute or less to fill it out, and Sharon will approve of you, and you can follow the instructions at the very end of this call for a chance to win $100. Once more, that's just getwebfire.com/FB group. Now we can move on to our training for the day, where we'll basically review and give insights on several businesses and stuff that you guys sent in, and specifically what we would do if those were basically ours. So we'll just throw some like marketing tips and suggestions and ideas at you. So last week we kind of had like a business analysis one. This one's similar, but it's more of like what would we do in your shoes. So for the overview, we'll do the analysis and what we do. We'll have a brief Q&A if there's any time left, and then we'll do the cash giveaway. So pretty fun call right here. So for the first couple, I kind of actually grouped it together and gave like, essentially a breakdown of some tips and stuff. After that, there will be some individual type niches or sites where Sean and I will just throw out some suggestions for you. But for a lot of you, you tended to have like a lot of affiliate offers or like affiliate sites, some in like internet marketing, some in some other ones. But as far as like a general tip, there's a few things that you want to really pay attention. So if you have an affiliate offer of some kind, first, you want to make sure that the offers are either in demand or in a niche that can get some traffic. So sometimes we see a lot of people that are maybe in a niche where, there's just not much of a niche there. Like they're in a very obscure niche, no one else is really in it, and you can't really do much, whether it's your own product or like an affiliate product there. You also want to see, is it the kind of offer that already is in demand? Is it a popular product or not? And if it's popular, you can do some different stuff that you can't do than if it's not. So if it's a popular product, like let's say you search and hey, there's a lot of people talking about this. It seems to be, listed high on like sites like basically ClickBank, or there seems to be like lots of people talking about it on forums and stuff. If you just do a search of the name of the product, you can usually tell pretty quickly if it's a popular one or not. So for popular offers, one of the best things you can do as an affiliate is to write reviews. So if you know that there's a lot of traffic for some of those offers already, and you can even use like the keyword tool inside of WebFire to kind of see like, hey, does this get any traffic for the name of the product? That can be a good indicator right there. But you can write a review, and you want to make sure that it's like a legit review. Like you don't want to just say this product is great, buy right here, because if it looks fake, people tend to think it's fake, and they'll think that the review is written by like the product owner or something like that. People are very, very pessimistic. So what you have to basically do instead is write like, a review where you have like a pros and cons list. I find this works really well to have like a title where you have the keyword of the product followed by like review or review of in the title itself. Have a short kind of like introduction, which is just maybe like 2-3 lines or so that just say what the product is a bit, and then have a pros and cons list where you list it out in like basically bullet points, and you say like what everything it is that you like about it, list like a couple or few cons on it. Even if you think it's an awesome product, almost anything can have like a couple cons. And if you truly think that there's a product with no cons, that's okay, but that has to be like, that has to be an exceptional product, and you have to legitimately think that. Like, let's say you really like, basically cars, and let's say, you got like a Tesla, okay, and you really love that. You think it's the best car. You think it's awesome. You love everything about it. You can write, all these pros on it. But for a cons, even if you love the car, you could still say, well, one of the cons is it can be really expensive. Another con can be, the repair costs can be, pretty high outside of warranty. But you can also write a con in a way where it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like a lot of people tend to avoid cons because they think it turns a buyer away. But using the Tesla example, you could say, one of the downside is that the, repair costs can be high, but as long as you're under the warranty, you don't have to worry as much about that. So that's like a con, but you kind of turn it around into a positive. Or using like, let's say, another example would be, I don't know, let's say you have an let's say like in the like a hosting or like an auto responder service, and let's say a con might be that, hey, it might not be that good for like really big lists. Like it might be hard to basically manage lists of like 100,000 or more. A con could basically be, hey, might not be the best solution if you have over 100,000 leads, but as long as you have less than that, it works really well. So you're saying a con, but like 95% of people, if not more, will say, oh, well, that doesn't really apply to me anyway. So you're fine in that. But you want to have like legit pros and cons there. And then after that, you want to have kind of like a summary or like a conclusion where you basically say, so in conclusion, even though there's a couple cons, I feel that the pros far outweigh the cons. And then after that, you give a call to action, which is basically like, so having said that, you can get the best and latest deal by basically clicking here. And then you have a link that would be your affiliate link right there. And that can work really well. And you can write the reviews as like a blog post. You can write it or make it into like a video. You can even turn the blog post into a video. And that can work really well for popular offers because a lot of people are searching for that, and they'll happen across the review that you have. Now, for less basically popular offers, like let's say there's not a lot of people searching for the product, or it's not a popular product that people will search for, that a lot of people buy, writing reviews like that might not really help because there might not be a lot of people looking for the product to start with. So what you'd want to do in that case, if you really like the product in question, if it's in a popular niche, you can write basically articles and make videos on basically common questions or problems, help address those, and then recommend the affiliate products. For instance, let's say that you're an affiliate for a moped site. And let's say one of the mopeds, you think, hey, it's a really awesome deal, but there's maybe only like, a handful of sales in a given month of that particular moped. So, if you're trying to shoot for like 2 or 3 people buying a month, and you're hoping that, 1 or 2 of those see your review and buy through your link, you can do it, but that's more of a long shot. And what you can do instead, or on top of, is you can write like a article or a video on how to basically pick out the perfect moped for you for the best price. And what you do in that is you'd have a breakdown saying like, hey, if you weigh more than X amount of pounds, or if you want to have a passenger, you want to look at a moped engine that's at least this size. Or if you're looking to go super fast, you want an engine at least this size. If you don't worry about that, or if you're less than like 250 pounds, then and you don't want to go super fast, you're just looking for around town, then you can save a lot and go with this kind of engine right here. And you can kind of just give like a little breakdown like that with some essentially tips, and then say in that case, at the very end, after you give all these tips, you'd say, out of all the mopeds that the best model for those that want to have a passenger or want to basically go really fast is this one right here, and you give your affiliate link to that one. Whereas if you are just basically driving solo and you can't go more than X amount of miles an hour anyway because the roads that you're on, you could save a lot of money and go with this one instead, and you give an affiliate link to that. So what you do now is you expanded your market from people looking for a particular product or a particular model, you expanded it to the entire niche, to people looking for basically questions and stuff in that niche. Now, if you have a product that isn't popular and is not in a popular niche, or one that gets much traffic at all, in that case, unless it's the kind of product that makes you a lot of money for a single sale, you might want to look at other options out there. Now, if it's a product that makes you like, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a sale, and it only gets like, a few hits a month, that can still be okay, but it's just something you want to think about. Then you want to also make sure to spend at least some time on the lead tools inside of WebFire to find new leads and basically answer them directly. You can use both the ranked lead finder, real-time lead finder, the Q&A tool, and the tweet lead finder to find all these leads there. So with the ranked lead finder, you can find leads that are already ranked on Google and Yahoo and Bing and such, and basically answer them right there. So not only do they see your answer, but any future traffic that sees that site, which is already ranked, so it should be a lot, will see the answer you gave and can, see what you said and basically check out your site or your video and so forth. So it's a great way to siphon a lot of traffic from those sites, whereas the rest of the lead tools and such can be a great way to get leads in real time that might be asking questions related to your product or the one that you're an affiliate for, or even related to the niche in question, and that can really be worthwhile as well. So make sure you do that. Now, we've also had a handful of you basically asking what to do in the SEO niche, which makes perfect sense because that's actually a great service that you can sell using WebFire. So I thought I'd kind of put a slide together right here that sums up all that. We do have a lot of prior calls on that, including one we did, maybe 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, on specifically like 3 jumpstart ways to start making money with WebFire. One of those was basically on SEO. So check out that call because we spend an entire call on just that. But in a nutshell, you want to target ideally a specific service to start with, like a schema, which is what we talked about on a prior call. It's those things that show a lot more info on your site. Like if you've ever done like a mobile search and seen like a click to a call, or have seen like review stars or click to see a menu, that's all done through the use of a schema. So you can sell a specific service like that, and you can optionally pinpoint it down with a type of a service in a specific location, like let's say dentist in Atlanta. So you could basically say, hey, I'm going to try to sell a schema SEO service to dentists in Atlanta this week. And again, you can branch it off and change it to, basically chiropractors in Atlanta, dentists in London, dentists in Brighton, wherever you want. Super easy. And then for each one, you can make a short video showing why some sites rank and why some basically don't, or how some sites can look with a schema and how some sites, don't look with a schema. For instance, like in this case, if you basically go back a few weeks when we had a call specifically on schemas, I would basically say, hey, this is a site that uses schema. You see, has all this extra info, has a click to call on it, has the business hours, has all that, and it ranks really, really high. Whereas this site doesn't rank at all, or is ranked at the very bottom or on page 2, doesn't have any of that. That's because of the use of a schema. So you obviously would want to have a schema here, and here's how this could help. Then after that, you want to have a get your foot in the door offer, which again could be like selling a schema for $500 or more, and then lead it into your other offers. And you can do this by having like a bonus, like, hey, if you buy a schema through here as a bonus, I'll do like a free site, analysis, or a free business analysis, or something like that, or a free social media, analysis, or even say you'll throw in like, a free month of social media management, where you could have like a trial offer that they could sign up to for like a free month, where you can even use WebFire on the social fire poster to do the social media on autopilot right there. You could also, on the flip side, you could offer a schema for free with a monthly SEO service. So if you want to sell the SEO itself, you could offer the schema for free in the first month, which is a huge bonus because a lot of people would think, hey, that's worth more than probably the price of the first month of SEO anyway. And the same model here applies to whether you're selling SEO, schemas, social media, ad management, so on and so forth. Like the exact same tips work with all these right here. And you could also, another big thing is as well, and these are these are like, essentially 2 very big things, is one, if you have a service, you can reach out to related businesses that sell to your ideal client, but don't necessarily sell exactly what you offer. And there's 2 things that you could do at that point. So let's say you sell SEO, you could reach out to website designers and basically offer to do either like a white label deal with them, where they could sell your service as their own, and they'd get like a decent cut of each sale, but they'd be bringing you clients on autopilot. And again, just making like 1 or 2 of these deals with the right guys can bring a lot of money and a lot of sales. Or on the flip side, you could just like reach out to those same guys and just see if there's some way where they could refer sales basically directly to you for a cut. Because a lot of those guys might be having a lot of prospects basically asking them for suggestions on SEO or services that they can buy and so forth. So they could get basically paid by basically doing this, with you instead of just recommending them to a random place. Now, moving on to some other businesses, we had one that basically asked on reputation management, on what we would do in that case. And this is one that I've actually sold in the past as well. Now, the key here is in realizing that reputation management oftentimes can be almost identical to SEO. So if someone has a lot of negative stuff said about them online, what do they really want to do? They want to get positive stuff out there instead, or they want to kind of push down the bad stuff and get more positive stuff up. And that's all done through the use of basically SEO. So, whether it be you having a bunch of positive articles on it or a bunch of videos where you try to get more positive stuff out there, it's basically another way to say a different kind of SEO service. But as far as what I would do to market that, well, there's a few things. One, you could have basically ads on Facebook, basically targeting businesses, where you could bluntly say hey, do you have any issues with bad or negative reviews online? Because a lot of times it can even be competitors that say crap about you. I see that a lot, even on Amazon now. I'm seeing more and more of that. So a lot of these people have these issues. Or you could also use the lead tools inside of WebFire to find lots of people asking questions about how they can get rid of bad or negative reviews and stuff like that. And you can basically say, hey, you can't always get rid of that stuff, but you can have a lot of positive stuff out there. And what I usually would do is I would try to get positive stuff out there. At the same time, if there was a really bad thing, especially from a competitor or just a dumb person, if it wouldn't go down in rankings, you could get a positive story out there to kind of directly address the bad thing said. And to give you an example, I got a call once, years and years and years ago, from a prospect who he basically was a big time investor, and he was about to be on a news show in a month. I don't know if it was 60 Minutes or what, but it's some very, very big national news show, and he was about to get a lot of publicity, and he didn't want this very negative thing to be one of the first things you see in the search engines. And the negative thing basically was a random blogger was accusing him of being a drug dealer. So obviously, if you're an investor guy that's looking for other investors, you're kind of scared if people think that you're a drug dealer. And what really happened was he used to own a private plane, which many, many years prior was sold off to another guy, and then years after that was sold off to a third guy, and that third guy used it to smuggle basically, I think it was cocaine and stuff, and the plane got basically busted with a huge stash of basically coke in it, and a blogger linked up to it saying, hey, this guy owned that plane, because somehow he saw an old record of that, and he was accusing this guy of being a dealer because a plane that he basically owned at one point in time had that. And these are guys, as you can imagine, desperately want the problems fixed. And that's the kind of thing that, for $5,000 to $10,000, they'd probably jump on that because they're at risk of losing millions of dollars, even a lot more they'd probably jump at. And it's the kind of thing where it's a service that you can easily do, but here's how you could step that up a notch too. So on top of answering questions, helping out people that are asking how to get rid of that stuff, you could also do what I did, which was basically team up with a lawyer, because a lot of these people don't think how they can outrank these places or how they can fix their reputation. Instead, they think, oh, I want to sue this guy for saying these lies or for leaving this bad review. And realistically, if you were to try a lawsuit on that stuff, even if you had a slight chance of winning, it could take years and a minimum of tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, to fight all that. And even if you win, the review might still stay, especially if they live overseas and stuff. So I asked the lawyer that would get like a lot of these kinds of questions to say, hey, if ever you think that there's a client that it's not worth it to do the lawsuit, but you think that they could basically benefit from some reputation management on the SEO side of stuff, send them over my way and we can work out a deal. And that's how I'd get like a handful of clients, and they were like high-end clients too, because these were guys that initially would have been looking to spend, in some cases, tens of thousands of dollars to only find out from the lawyer that, hey, we could certainly do that, but the result might not be what you want. Instead, maybe you want this right here. So you could reach out, and regardless of what kind of business you're in, I don't care if it's reputation management or another one, I think you should always try to reach out to other businesses that can basically complement yours and send you basically prospects in a win-win where both sides get paid off that. Another business, or I think actually two, that we had were a local cleaning one. One specifically was like an organic-based one, and they wanted to know, what would we do, on a local scale to promote a business like that? Well, there's a few things. One is I would try to basically brainstorm a handful of keywords that people might search for when looking for a cleaning service or a maid and stuff. Like, not only do you have your basic words like cleaning service followed by like the city or town that you're in, obviously you want to target that, but you could also target stuff like organic cleaning service and have like a page devoted to like how you're, basically organic and all that right there. So there's a lot less competition on the organic side. You can even kind of pinpoint that down even more to say, like, let's say you have a lot of clients that have Airbnbs, okay, and you're a cleaning service for Airbnbs. A lot of cleaning services that do that stuff won't specifically mention it or won't specifically target those kinds of keywords. So if you have a page specifically on your Airbnb cleaning service in whatever town, just by having that somewhere in the title of the page, you'd have a good chance of ranking for that right there. And anyone that has an Airbnb, they all, not all of them, but a lot of them pretty much don't want to clean the stuff themselves. So they're probably looking for the kind of service like what you could basically do, and you could get a lot of business off that. And what's cool is that if you have an Airbnb, you don't just hire a cleaning service once. It might be like 15 days a month or 10 days a month or even 5 days a month. It doesn't matter the exact time, but multiple times a month, you'd have to hire a service for just a single, house or, like apartment. So that can add up to be a lot of money, especially over time, right there. And, there's other kinds of keywords and stuff that you could basically pinpoint and target. Like if you do commercial stuff, you could basically target that. If you do, like anything you can think of. Or like, and even I've seen some that even go like a step further where it's like, if there's like, if you do like extreme cleaning, you could basically target keywords like that. Like if you do like people that have like almost like a hazard, like if they're like a hoarder, let's say, you could have a service that specifically targets that stuff too, where of course you could charge a lot more, the competition's also a lot less, and you can make a lot of money off that. Sean, I'm not sure if you have any other ideas like that. You could also, like around like the holidays and stuff like that, have like a special deal where it's like, buy basically two, get one free, and that you could give as like a gift. So that'd be like the kind of thing where a lot of people might say, oh wow, if I like looking to clean my own house, I could get like basically 2 cleanings and get like a free gift card for another cleaning, which I could give, basically away to someone as a gift or use myself. That's the kind of thing that if you advertise for, you could get some takers on that. You could also do like a giveaway if you want to advertise online on like Facebook, where you could do like a giveaway where they have a chance to win a free cleaning, and then anyone that signs up automatically gets like a discount or like a deal if they want to take advantage of it. Sean, I'm not sure if you have any more thoughts on that. before we move on to
Hey Brian, I think that's a tremendous amount of things for somebody to be able to do that applies to any local business. And the other thing is to look for referrals from existing clients. I mean, always when you have that kind of business, I mean, and probably in most neighborhoods, and now there's some online services in the States that might be elsewhere as well, like Nextdoor, but where people go looking for referrals. But I know in my neighborhood, the Women's Club has a list where people are always, they're always looking for referrals, whether it's somebody to clean the house, a roofer, whatever it is. And if you get referred by a neighbor, you're halfway to getting the business. So you definitely want to try to do that as well, which has nothing to do with online marketing, but still is a great business tip.
Yeah, and one thing as well, which I don't see a lot of guys do on a local scale, but I think would be a tremendous opportunity, is if, let's say you have like a local service that you go to the person's house, like let's say you're like a maid, or let's say you snow plow or do landscaping or stuff like that, you could make a deal with them saying, hey, if there's any neighbors that you're able to refer me to, you basically would give them a cut, or even work out a deal and say, hey, if you give me permission to use your house and your name on like a postcard, if you say yes, they'll basically give you like maybe a small cut of each sale, or like a discount on each sale then. Because imagine if you're like if you have your snow plowed or your lawn mowed or whatnot, if you're like a neighbor and that your neighbor uses a certain person to mow their lawn or to do like snow plowing or stuff like that, you're far more likely to use that guy, because that, hey, if my neighbor uses them, they're probably reliable. And if you basically work out a deal where you give them permission to like mail a postcard with your name and your like address on it, where they can say, hey, I'm like a landscaping service, I serve your neighbor Sean or Brian at this address right here, and for a limited time, if you're interested, I'll give you a discount, because it's basically easier to do multiple homes side by side. That's a win-win for the neighbor, who gets a discount, for the worker, because it's super easy and costs a lot less, basically time and money to do like 2 or 3 homes side by side as just one. And if he gives you a little bit of like a kickback or like a discount, saves you as well. And I've seen like maybe 1 out of like 50 that I've seen do stuff like that, but it can have a tremendous impact on any local business. We also had 2 different ones that sent in like a health and beauty shop. One was like a actual online store, one was like a local business, I think. And we kind of covered stuff on the local business side. So again, kind of the same thing there. But one thing that you could do, similar to what we kind of said, is kind of like break down, like not just try to rank for health and beauty, but like the specific kind of things basically done. So that could be stuff like, oh, my phone's ringing, excuse me on that. So that would basically be like, if let's say you do, I don't know, let's say you have a health and
let's say you sell telephone systems.
What's that?
Let's say you sell telephone systems.
Yeah, but let's say for like health and beauty, like let's say you have like a like let's say like a clinic that does like laser hair removal and does basically Botox and like all sorts of other stuff. You can individually rank on a local scale for each of those, instead of just like a main essentially broad thing. But for like for like an e-commerce site, what you could do, let's say you sell a bunch of like health and beauty stuff, like a bunch of creams for like anti-wrinkle creams, or maybe like a bunch of different makeup stuff. What you can do is you can do like basically video tutorials or basically articles on how a specific one might help. Like, for instance, you could have a video on, let's say a great new cream to reduce wrinkles. You can show like some before and after stuff, and you can say like, hey, out of all the creams that we've seen, this is one of our favorite ones right here because it's half the price of others. It's just as effective as the high-end ones, and kind of like break down your site where there's a chance that they could find individual things. Or if you had like a makeup thing, you could not only target like videos on how to do certain kinds of basically makeup, but you could pinpoint that down to have like a walkthrough on how to do makeup for basically prom, how to do makeup for homecoming, how to do makeup for a wedding, how to do makeup for like whatever, which realistically, like makeup oftentimes for any special or large event might be the same, but like people might be specifically looking for like an individual sub niche of a sub niche like that. And if you have a bunch of these, people will eventually find your instructional video and such, see the recommendations that you give, and be more likely to buy from your site. And that can work for, again, any business. Like you can kind of break stuff down, give basically walkthroughs and how stuff works, and kind of look at the questions or the keywords that people search for within your niche, then try to have relevant articles and videos based upon that there. Sean, I'm not sure if you have any other input on that one right there, but it's a lot like a lot of the other like local and e-commerce stuff that we basically talk about. The same stuff would apply there.
Right, and one of the other things too, and I lost track because I was answering questions if you mentioned this or not, but is one of the things you can do in creating content on your site that's going to generate traffic for you is answering questions that people ask. Like if you went to a party and you said, hey, I run this kind of shop, the questions that people ask you all the time. Oh, how do I do this? Hey, I always wondered if you could do this. Like, and if you start writing the answers to those and just rank those as blog posts, you're going to get a tremendous amount of traffic, generate tremendous credibility as the person with all the answers when somebody goes looking for stuff. And then obviously you're going to have ads, links, promotions, everything for exactly what you want to sell, whether it's a service, a product, combination of the two. That goes along with that, but it's a great way to become the expert within any given market.
Yeah, and for like an e-commerce site, what you could also do in here, you could also do like a giveaway where they get some like cheap kind of health product for like, well, I'd say on the front end you would have like a giveaway where they get something for free, like something of value. You would know your market the best, but like some kind of health and beauty product they would get for free as like a contest. But then everyone wins at least something, which could be like a little thing of makeup. It could be a little thing of cream, like almost like a sampler. And then what you say is like, you have the contest for the main big thing, but then by basically just entering, everyone can get like a free plus shipping offer for like a sample of some kind. And then once they sign up for that, you could try to basically push them into like a reoccurring offer of some kind, like a special deal to say, hey, for this anti-wrinkle cream or for this, whatever cream or whatever makeup or whatever product that, is basically common and popular in that niche, you could have it so they get like a big freebie if they sign up for like a monthly service or a monthly product that you ship out, and you get a lot of takers off that and some reoccurring off that as well, and kind of build a brand up off that as well, and just have like a funnel where you sell multiple upsells and stuff to those that are basically interested in whatever offer they signed up for basically the contest. Now, on the flip side, if you had a local business, you can kind of do the same thing, but maybe your giveaway could be like a free makeover and like free makeup and free stuff, like a free bundle from them, but everyone wins like a free makeover. So if they go to your store, they could get like a little mini makeover. And then like there's a lot of makeup stores that basically do stuff like that. I know that because I have a daughter that she isn't as into it now, but I know years ago her and her friends would like the stores where they'd get like a free little makeover stuff. And of course, the goal is they try to sell them into the stuff that they use to do the makeover. And that can be another way to drive like a lot of prospects to your store, and also more importantly, build a list off that as well, even on a local scale. So next one we have a yoga studio, kind of along the same lines. You know, it's a local business. Stuff like the giveaways would work fine, or like a contest to win like a free month of yoga lessons and stuff, where everyone that signs in also gets some kind of freebie or discount, like at least one lesson free. You could also do like what I would probably do is anyone that's currently a student of yours, I would have like certain days where they could bring a guest for free. Like the guest would get in for free in that case. And the idea is it's kind of like a referral that, you know, has a friend there, and, you know, like, you know, if you're basically doing yoga or like any kind of exercise then, or any sport or anything like that, as a business owner, if one of your students brings a friend in, you know that there's a much higher likelihood that the friend might stay as a member because they already have another friend in it with them. And, you know, people like basically doing that stuff with others and stuff there. So if you encourage them to bring a friend for free, it's a great way for that friend to kind of get their foot in the door, check out stuff, and they're far more likely you know, to maybe sign up and stay on, especially if you had a special deal that on that day you announce a special that, you know, new members can get in for, you know, half off, let's say the first month or something like that, where you have a way to sign up guys right there. That could be a great way to go about that. Yeah, so I'd probably look towards that. Anything that you can do to have like a special event or whatnot would be great. I also saw a handful of local stores do really well. I saw one recently that had, it was like a yogurt, like a frozen yogurt or smoothie shop or something, that it was they had like free smoothies for those that had like an adopted kid. So it was like families of like adoption or family, or maybe it was something basically kids like that. It was either adopted kids or foster kids and stuff. So it got like a lot of families to come in, and they all would get like, you know, a free smoothie. I've seen some for like Veterans Day and stuff, where you know, if you're a vet, you'd get like a free something like a smoothie or ice cream or something like that. And what's nice with that is, like, even though, let's say the vet in this case would get the free scoop of ice cream, chances are, like, you know, if you're a vet, sure, there might be a guy that walks in alone and takes advantage of a scoop of ice cream and you're out like a quarter. Not a big deal. Especially when, like, if he likes it, he might come back in the future, he might buy it more. But realistically, you know, it's probably like, let's say a dad that basically might bring a few of his kids in, and then all of a sudden it's basically like, hey, you have one scoop of ice cream free, but you have like 3 paying clients then. That stuff can tend to work really well. You could also say, like, let's say you do lessons like 5 days a week, and let's say there's a certain day that's always really slow, like you don't have a lot of clients there. What you could do in that case is, again, that might be a good day to have like a special deal, like you know, like a buy one get one free, or basically bring like a guest free if you're allowed to, depending upon the place. You could also do like include like a free glass of wine in a case like that. You'd have to check on, like, I know there's certain towns that allow that, certain ones that don't. Like, I've seen boutiques that basically do stuff like that. Like, if they sell basically clothes and stuff, they'll have a certain day or like a certain evening where they host like a little class. Like, I've seen ones where it's like they include like free wine, and the class is like how to wear a scarf in different ways, which I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, I just thought a scarf you throw around your neck. Well, apparently with women, there's a lot of like fancier ways. I know us guys just, you know, we throw a scarf on and that's that. With basically women, there's like different ways that they can wear it, and apparently there's like over a dozen different ways, and they teach you how to do all that there. And of course, at the end of it, they sell you all these different scarves and stuff. And And of course, you get the free wine, you can try the stuff on. So it's like a fun activity that they can all do. But at the same time, that was one of their biggest money makers. So even though they bought like, probably like $50 of wine, if not less, and spent like an hour or so of their time basically teaching stuff, they made a ton of money on those times right there. So like you could do even like, even if you had like a standard yoga lesson or class, you could also do one where like maybe you have a special class where you teach a different form of yoga. Like maybe there's some other kinds of yoga where like one of those days you basically teach a new kind to try to encourage even existing, essentially clients of yours to go back there. I've also seen like a lot of places, even on the yoga side, do special events where it's like yoga with kittens. My sister even did one. I don't know why. She's a bit of an oddball, but she actually went to yoga with goats once, where they just had a bunch of goats.
Oh, that's big in Atlanta, actually.
Yeah.
I'm serious. There's like a whole
Yeah.
specialty yoga with goat thing in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's
I don't
crazy.
get it, but I
don't understand it. She really enjoyed it. Her friends enjoyed it. And apparently like it was sold out months ahead of time. And this was from like a studio that typically, is like kind of hard to fill a class. They do yoga with goats and they're filled. There's like a yoga with kittens and they're filled. Yoga with, I don't know if they've done puppies, but I'm sure that'd be a good one. And like anything like that gives a unique spin can attract a lot of clients to you that way as well. So Sean, I don't know if there's anything else in this one, but we can move on to the next one. If not.
Yeah, the only other thing that I in promoting any of these things like yoga studios, that kind of stuff, is to always think about, I love the special event idea. And the other thing is, whenever you have something like that, and you get, especially if you get new people in, people have been in for a while, is to make some kind of special offer,
Yep.
especially something where you get people to commit to like, unlimited yoga for $100 a month. Anything that creates that membership where, you're getting paid every month, and yes, you want them to come to class, but if they don't come to class, you still get paid, so that's okay. That's a good thing.
Yep. And now here's one I thought was pretty interesting. And my first thought was crap, that's probably a bit of a tough niche. But then I thought, well, wait, there's ways that you could kind of turn that into a pretty good one. So this was one where there was a person that sold basically poetry ebooks. So they wrote, my understanding, if I understood it right, was they wrote like a bunch of poetry, and they had these in basically books that they sold. And my first thought is that's probably like a tougher niche in that, there's not necessarily a ton of guys looking to buy poetry ebooks, especially from like lesser known authors. Now, I don't know if this guy was like a well-known author or not, but I'm assuming he's probably not like a top, essentially poetry guy. I could be completely wrong on that, but let's assume that you sell like basically poetry and you're not like a top author out there. It's going to be hard to get guys to fork over money for basically poetry that they don't know of yet. So there's a couple things that you could basically do. The standard answers would be, well, you could basically give some poetry away to try to like get guys interested and then basically buy. But I still think that'd be like kind of a tough market. But I thought of a clever way that I think would be a killer market. What if instead you kind of turned your business around a little bit, and your main goal was to sell custom poetry. So you would write basically poetry on behalf of another person, like as like a Valentine's Day thing or like a wedding day thing or whatever. And you gave away a couple of your books, on the front end, just to kind of like see that, hey, you're an expert poet. Here's some samples of your work and stuff to prove that you know what you're basically doing. And then you sell a service where you write basically poetry for like another person. That's the kind of thing that you could charge probably a lot more because it's like a customized thing. It's probably not terribly hard for you to do. You could have them like fill out a survey on stuff that they, to basically give you some info on what you're writing about. And that's the kind of thing that you could probably charge a lot more for, get some interest in it, and be very like unique to you. Now, you could still sell your books and all that, on the back end. You can still sell your books as is, but that could be an additional service that you could try to basically sell as well. Now, if you're just into selling the books, you want to also make sure, since it might be more of like a niche where someone that's basically buying, essentially poetry books might know their stuff a bit more. So if there's certain kinds of poetry that you have, you might want to make sure that you try to rank for those various different kinds of keywords. So not just like a general, essentially poetry books, but the different various kinds of poetry and stuff. You want to make sure that you try to rank for not only the different kinds of poetry, but also maybe the different themes and topics, and rank for that as well. Like if there's like I don't know my different topics. I just know from school there's one called like haiku. So you could do like, haiku poetry books on nature or on love or on, whatever topic, and try to rank for like a variety of those. That could work as well. But I also really like if you could do like a customized service option to actually write. I think you could probably make a lot of money off something, or a lot more easily make more off that. I mean, Sean, I'm not sure if you have any suggestions off the top of your head on this one or not.
No, this one, nothing immediately came to mind.
Yep. So, all right. So, moving on to here, there's also a handful of you that had like a product or service for basically businesses and stuff that you sold. Now, a lot of the tips that I shared under the SEO and the reputation management that we talked about at the start, you could apply here. Like everything said there, you could easily apply here. But typically, anytime you're dealing with like a business that you're selling a product or a service to, it's always good to have like some kind of offer to get your foot in the door, whether it be like a free offer or whether it be like a video explaining like a common solution to a problem that they have. That can work really well. Even if you sell like a product or service to like a person, anytime you have like some kind of freebie or some way to get yourself in the door, that can work really well. Like for instance, let's say I think there's one that would sell like I think it was like a QR discount club type thing, where like a restaurant or store could basically give out coupons via like a phone basically. You could have like kind of like a video on how a restaurant or a store could make a lot of money on their slowest days, and it could be on, hey, here's 3 ways to make a lot of money even on your slowest days. And it could be like, hey, the first way is if you have a slow day, maybe have that day to like be like a half off deal or half off appetizers or drinks or anything like that. And then you kind of show off how the product you have, like the essentially coupon app phone thingy, could help with that and how it works, and kind of do like a light pitch in to that. Or if you have like a trial or anything like that, that can work really well. The other thing that you can do as well is don't just sell directly to the business, but try to think of like, hey, what's a handful of basically other businesses that maybe sell to that same kind of business that you could possibly do like a deal with. For instance, I knew a place that sold like wholesale basically ink for like for like a printer, but their best clients usually were like hospitals and law firms and hotels and stuff like that. But basically trying to pinpoint those one by one and sell directly to them could be a challenge at times. So what they did is they tried to reach out to places that essentially dealt with those guys anyway. Like there were certain like bank investors and certain other like firms that they already worked with, like other wholesalers and stuff, even wholesalers of basically printers and stuff. They would basically make a deal with some of those guys to kind of get a referral in for like a kickback, and they could get like a single deal made there, in this case, was worth tons and tons and tons of money. So always think of like, what kind of white label deals you could make, what kind of referral deals could you work out with others, what other kind of businesses could you work with. Another thing too is like when you sell stuff like SEO and stuff like that, don't just think of yourself as like selling, basically SEO. think of yourself as, hey, I sell SEO to dentists in Atlanta, or I sell, SEO to chiropractors in this place. So any kind of service you have, if you can kind of pinpoint or narrow that down, that can help even more. But all the stuff here, the same stuff that we basically talked about on the SEO and the reputation management side would easily apply there as well. And the last one we have, we had a few of you that were basically in coaching. Some were in personal development, some were life coaching, there were some that was internet marketing coaching. In a case like this, typically, not in all cases, but typically the costs are more, so they're on like the higher end. So it's harder to sell up front. Like it's hard to just have like an offer where you're like, hey, buy my service for $5,000. You can do that, but it's harder to. So instead, what you can do in a case like that is oftentimes, if you have case studies that you can either advertise or basically talk about, that can work really well. Like if let's say you helped basically grow a business from X amount to basically double the profit in like a month or so, you could have a case study on like a video or like an article that you say, hey, this is how I grew this business from X amount of money to X amount in 30 days. And you explain it step by step, what was basically done, what the results were, what you analyzed, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of that, have like a light pitch into like an application where they can apply to see if they'd be a good fit for you. So it's like a very light sales pitch into that. And you can not only have this as like a video or a blog post, you can advertise it even on places like Facebook as a case study, because people love to read case studies. They don't love to read like a pitch. If you had a pitch, people don't like that. I mean, some do, but it's harder. Whereas like a case study, almost anyone would love that. Or on the personal development side, it could be like, hey, here's how, I helped so-and-so get out of, let's say their depression in just a couple weeks, or whatever it might be, or how I helped them get over a breakup or loss of job, or whatever it might be. You give like these step-by-step tips and what they basically did, what you basically told them, and then you could try to like at the end of that have like a light pitch into another product of yours, or a light pitch into like a form that they can fill out. On like going back to WebFire, if you were to sell like an SEO service, you could have a video or like an article on like how to rank a site, or how you got a site to rank and why some sites don't, and at the very end have like a light pitch into your service, kind of along the same lines right there. So the key is to not just sell your service or your coaching, but to kind of like get the news to spread about the case studies and stuff like that, which can actually drive a lot of traffic and drive a lot of interest, then do a light pitch on the back end of that right there. And included in the light pitch, you can have like a consultation, like a free consultation call or consultation email or something along those lines to kind of get your foot in the door that way as well right there. Sean, I'm not sure if you have any other thoughts on that one.
I do, because that is, whenever you're trying to sell something that's higher ticket, like personal services, consulting, coaching, especially things that are service-based like that, you need to build credibility with people, because as Brian said, hey, if you've got a case study that says, hey, this is how we help so-and-so accomplish this objective, achieve this goal, whatever that might be, that's a big start. But to get to the credibility level, especially if you're just starting out, showing yourself as an expert by being able to have case studies, even if they're not something that you yourself did, but you kind of almost imply that with, hey, here's how so-and-so did this, and you tell the story of something that you've researched, or hey, this person ran into this problem, here's what I would have done and advised them to do, right? Which sets you up as an expert, even though you aren't the person that actually did that or coached them or told them what to do or whatever. But if it's something that clearly makes sense and has a good chance of success, you create that level of expertise for yourself that's going to let you be able to have a better chance of convincing someone they should trust you, they should rely on you, they should hire you. So those kind of things do double duty. Besides generating traffic and leads, it also sets up the potential sale that you're trying to make.
Yep, that's a great thing. And again, the social proof is absolutely huge there, but it's not like you have to necessarily have a ton of clients yourself to start with. I mean, it's great if you have it, but just by like saying the case study and explaining it, the prospect thinks, oh, that makes sense, I like that, but then they all think, oh, I want him or her to help me on my business too. So it kind of sets you up right there compared to all the others, which are like, you know, hey, I'm a coach, hire me and trust me. It's a kind of a tough pitch there unless you're a very well-known person. So with that, we're towards the end of the call right here. If there's any questions, you can feel free to ask in the chat box. And in the meantime, if you want a chance to win $100, make sure to join our free Facebook group right here at getwebfire.com/FB group. Sharon has a post towards the very top basically asking what you thought on today's call. And it will be basically posted within the past hour. Make sure if you click on that one, if you click on basically comment and leave a comment within that post right there, we'll pick a random winner just about a minute or two or so. So make sure you go to the Facebook group right there, click the join. If you're not, again, it's free. You'll be approved within like seconds. And then see the post from Sharon towards the very top, basically asking what you thought on today's call. Leave any comment you want, maybe suggestions for a future call, what you thought, anything like that, that's all fine. And we'll pick a random winner in 1 or 2 minutes here. In the meantime, Sean, while people are doing that, if there's any questions that you saw basically popped up that you haven't answered yet, I know you've answered like a ton of them, and we've answered a bunch here live. Feel free to shout those out.
Yeah, so Mark had a question about schema. He said he knows it can take a couple weeks or whatever time for that to get indexed and then show up in the results. But his question is, how do you know that you put it on the site correctly?
Well, first, watch the walkthrough of the Schema Maker tool because it actually explains how you can basically check that. So it explains how to add the schema on. If you have like a WordPress site, we have a button that will instantly do it for you pretty easily. If you have HTML site, we have another button that will also basically do that for you, so you can always know it's there. But if you paste it in yourself, we have basically a test button that will basically essentially test to see if you properly added it in there. So you just would use that right there. But make sure to watch the walkthrough that we have on that because it will clearly explain all that. And you'll see the test button and all that to actually test to make sure you have it added.
I don't think we can make it much easier than that. So Mark says he has a Wix site.
Yep. Is there a question with that?
Well, I think the question is back to the schema is, you know, how he's going to be able to add that to a Wix site. And I'm not sure if you get access to Wix. For those that don't know, Wix is a software you can use to build a site where it's controlled by them much more closely than if you just had your own hosted site. Can you? And I don't know off the top of my head if you can actually access enough of the code to be able to add things to their site or not.
Yeah, so
you have to know?
Yeah, I don't know Wix. I mean, I know of Wix, but I don't know offhand. But as long as you have basically access to the HTML side where you can change that kind of stuff, you could add the schema code in. If you're using a site builder that does not allow you to basically access that stuff, that's a big issue that's like a big issue in terms of SEO and stuff like that, because if you can't change stuff like a title tag around or a description tag, that could be an issue. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if we basically did a search on Google for like, you know, how to add a schema to Wix, it would probably say if they allow that or not. But we have actually custom code within the Schema Maker where you can, like, if you have to copy and paste the code in, you can paste that onto any site that you have basically access to the HTML to. And most like platforms out there allow you to have access basically to that.
Okay, good. That's all the questions that we needed to talk about officially. So we can give away your money.
All righty. Let's refresh the page real here.
More fun than giving away my money.
Yep. All right. All right. So here's the page right here, and here is the post from less than an hour ago where Sharon asked what everyone thought on today's call. I see there's a couple of you that posted outside of that in different areas. Just try to remember in the future to post in the right one, but that's okay. So I'll give you guys maybe 10 seconds to do a comment. 10, 9, and I'll refresh it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I see there's a handful of comments outside. I'll make an exception. I'll count the newer ones outside just to be nice here. All right, so there's one outside that plus one outside plus 5 outside. So 6 outside plus 15 here. So 21. So pretty good chance of winning. All right. So 121. We'll click on the generate. 2. That makes it easy. So there's the one outside here at the top.
2.
And 2 would be the very first one of this. There's one above it. So congratulations, Dale Maxwell. If this is you, or looks like you, congratulations. You are this week's $100 winner. Just make sure to basically post up your PayPal email to Sharon in the chat box so she knows. And Sean, was this a prior week's winner? Because I feel like one of the prior weeks guys had 43 friends. I feel like this might be the same guy.
I don't know that, but Dale is definitely a longtime member, so I don't know that part.
Yeah. So yes, occasionally we get some repeat winners here. I think I don't know if that was a fact or not, but looks kind of like a prior one I recognized from weeks ago. So maybe or maybe not. But anyway, congratulations, Dale Maxwell. Either way, you are for sure this week's $100 winner. Just make sure to post up your PayPal email to Sharon in the chat box, and she will get you paid shortly this afternoon. So with that, if there's any other questions or we missed anything or anything like that, just write support@webfire.com, and we'll make sure to get back to you very, very promptly. Or again, feel free to also basically post up any questions such you have on the Facebook page right here as well. So with that, guys, hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.